How's it going there, beautiful people of the world? This is Calvin Leandre Shepherd, CLS, Christ Love Sinners, Kael Lahim Roha, the voice of God warrior, the Lord is my shepherd, coming from the edge of the earth, through the grit and the grind, to share a little bit of Israel shine. I'm back with the fourth lesson, the fourth beast, and it's a beautiful lesson. And I've been going through a lot to get this out, and we're gonna make it plain, and the word is gonna pop out the pages for you. And we're going through time, space, and history, and all of that. So hold on tight, and we'll be back. Starting back with the lesson. And realize what it is. You're going to be spared. Let's just go back to right here, the fourth beast. And after I saw in a night vision and beheld the fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had iron teeth. It devoured and broke into pieces and stamped the residue of with its feet of it, and it was different from all the other beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. The 10 horns is the 10 kings that speaks in Revelations, you know what I'm saying, that shall hate the whore. The reason why the 10 horns hate the whore, because they're tired of lying. You know what I'm saying? They're tired of pushing this lie. They're tired of pushing this lie. Who's the father of lies? Satan is the father of lies. What did the book of Adam and Eve said? On the west side of the earth, they was going to give themselves to the yielding of the beast and the workings of Satan. What did it say in Revelation 17? The whole earth is made drunk off the fornication of the great whore. Stomp into pieces all the history before time. I mean, not before time, but all the past. You know what I'm saying? And everything, whitewashed everything. And I'm not a bigot or anything like that, but this is the truth. This is the reason why Kennedy got knocked down, because he wanted to tell the truth. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that want to tell the truth, bro, they gets knocked down. But the Bible, you can't go against the Bible. And guess what? It ain't over. You about to go a little bit deeper. Watch this. I considered the horns, and beheld, there came up amongst them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the one horn plucked up by the root. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and the mouth speaking great things. So now we're into the 10 kings. The 10 kings, you can put all that. You can put the industrial complex. You know what I'm saying? From where, we was riding horses for a thousand years. Now we train plane cars and all this and all that. You know what I'm saying? The 10 kings, you know what I'm saying? That represents the technology and the time that we're in. And then out of that, 3 horns come. 2 of them got taken up by the root, but the other one stayed and had eyes as a man. What is that? That's that camera in your eyes. That's that chip in your eyes. Trying to track you. Trying to follow you. Putting microchips in your eyes to see what you see. This the Bible. You want that blessing now, though, huh? Oh, you want to fall in love? You think you done met Prince Charming? Just been studied through technology. Don't love you. Just been studying you. And I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them a little horn, before whom there were 3 of the one horn, plucked up by the root. And behold, the horn in this horn were eyes like a man, and a mouth spoke great things. The reason why the mouth is speaking great things, because they're laughing and he and ha ha as they look at your life. What you like, what you don't like, how freaky you can get, and this and that. And then it isn't just the cameras in your eyes. It's the surveillance everywhere. The cameras are everywhere. You got to understand the Bible. You got to understand what time it is. All right, now I'm back, and we're going to put person, place, and things with these scriptures, and we're going, and this is very intense. I'm gonna try to make it clear. No, we're gonna try to make it clear to the Most High God the best way possible, and I've been learning as because that was a rough draft, you know what I'm saying? So I've been learning, you know what I'm saying, as I've been seeking. He's been teaching. So let's go into this. Daniel chapter 7, verse 7. After this, I saw in the night vision, and beheld the fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and broke in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was different from all the other beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the root, and behold, in this horn were eyes, and the eyes of a man, and a mouth that spoke great things. Now, when it said in the first verse, after this, I saw in the night vision, and beheld the fourth beast, dreadful, terrible, strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth, and it devoured and broke into pieces. Now, from the last lesson, the third beast, which was a leopard, had 4 heads. We didn't prove that that's Israel. So this beast right here that's coming with iron teeth, stomping in the residue and destroying everything. It destroyed everything that the third beast, you know what I'm saying, the third beast kingdom established. It destroyed it all. Changed the face of Christ into a white face. Kicked all the well, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself because this lesson explains it. But through the Renaissance and the real Jews being kicked out of Europe, that is this iron beast stomping into pieces all the history of what was established before it to create this world that we have today. And down here where it says broke into pieces and stamped the residue of the feet of it, and it was different from all the other beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Them 10 horns is in Revelations too, but also them 10 horns was them 10 European powers back in the Dark Ages too. But right here, when in verse 8 it says, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them a little horn, before whom the 3 of the first was plucked out by the root. The reason why the 3 was plucked out by the root, because the black nobility that was in Spain and the Moors, the black nobility that was in Portugal, the black nobility that was in England and Ireland these civilizations was established 600 BC. The same when Nehi and them guys came over here was established 600 BC. Plucked up by the root. You know what I'm saying? To where everything's been whitewashed. This is real Bible prophecy that Daniel have seen. And we're going to go deeper and deeper and deeper into this. And from when the verse says, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the root, and I beheld in this horn was many eyes, in the eyes of a man, and a mouth spoke great things. This is a jump in time. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? From let's just say 1492 is in verse 7, where the beast crush and break all the pieces to the residue. And then once that little horn comes up with many eyes, we're fast forwarding into this future. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We're fast forwarding into the future, like 700 years into the future. You know what I'm saying? That the horn with many eyes represents the technology. You know what I'm saying? So when you read that, you know what I'm saying? It's a time jump. You feel me? And as God was showing Daniel these things, that's how he was showing them. Because Daniel, when Daniel received these things, he was in Babylon. And when he received these things, it was a prophecy, you know what I'm saying, of God just running down history. But see, you have to be in the spirit, you know what I'm saying, to get it. You know what I'm saying? Because some of these prophecies that Daniel got from God hasn't even been fulfilled until just a few years ago. You see what I'm saying? So to prove these metaphors and these prophecies, when it said in the beginning of verse 7, the beast had iron teeth and it devoured. What is that when you look in history? Iron teeth. That's the invention of the gun. That's the invention of the cannon. The cannon came into Europe the 14th century, around the same time when the 3 horns, which represents the nobility of Europe, was being plucked up by the root. You see? That's why Daniel saw this beast that was different from all, and it had iron teeth. That iron teeth represents cannons. You know what I'm saying? Represents gunpowder. They used to put the little iron ball down there and then put it with gunpowder and boom. For reals. This is how you know this is accurate. And it said it devoured in pieces and stamped in the residue under his feet. And that's also in the Inquisition. They used to strap people up and put them on iron spikes and do all types of tortures to them. You feel me? That's also, you know what I'm saying, a part of that. And it had 10 horns. The 10 horns at that time was Spain, Portugal, England, France, the Netherlands, Russia, Sweden, Norway, Germany, and Italy. And we're going to be back with some videos to show the dreadful beast tearing into pieces with iron teeth.
soul in the transatlantic slave trade.
This is the devouring.
Never saw the continent of Africa.
Of the great horns. This is the devouring.
See, by law, the only slaves
of the
that could be
iron
brought
teeth.
to the Americas were Negroes born in Spain and Portugal, brought directly from Spain and Portugal to the colonies. But later, a charter granted by Emperor Charles to Lorenzo de Gondomar gave permission to transport Spanish Negroes directly from Africa to the Spanish-American colonies. He circumvented the legal statute established by Ferdinand and Isabella that slaves must have been born in Spain by allowing Africans to enter the Americas, provided they quote-unquote convert during the voyage. I know for some this might be hard to swallow, so let me paint the full picture for you. There was a people who lived in Spain and Portugal who were called the Negroes. These Negroes claimed to be the remnants of the Yahudim, or the Jews, left after Nebuchadnezzar took the Judeans captive. Every historian attested that not only were they black, but according to writers like J.A. Rogers, so dark were the Jews, especially of Portugal and southern Spain, that many whites thought all Jews were black. And sometimes the writers would use the word swarthy, which means black. For instance, it is also a vulgar error. He wrote that the Jews were all black, but this is only true of the Portuguese, who marrying always one another beget children like themselves, and consequently the swarthiness of their complexion is entailed upon their whole race, even in northern regions. So some people like to take the word swarthy and say it doesn't mean black. Well, just for kicks, let's take a look at it. Swarthy, from the root word swart, Old English swart, black, dark, of night. Gothic swart, dark colored, black, from the Pi root swardo, dirty, dark, black. The true Germanic word, surviving the continental languages, but displaced in English by black. Well, let's get an older definition from another dictionary. Swarthy, see swart, being of a dark hue of dusky complexion, tawny in warm climates. The complexion of men is universally swarthy or black. The Moors, Spaniards, and Italians are more swarthy than the French, German, and English, black as the swarthy African. So let's continue. This is why, again, the Duchess of Brantes, who was the ambassador, a wife to the ambassador of Portugal, said, the Jew, the Negro, and the Portuguese can be seen in a single person. Why? Because they were a single person. And these Portuguese Negroes were known for things that might ring a bell to African American. Number one, they were known for writing poetry set to music. But in their pure poverty and touching tenderness of the pathos, the Jewish poets of Spain not only excelled their Moorish rivals, but every poet before or since. Once more, Israel's sons and daughters took their harps of Judea from off the mourning willows in the songs of Zion. The Jews and Moors in Spain by Joseph Croissant. Secondly, they were known for wearing black cloaks and hoodies. The Almohad ruler, Abu Yusuf Raqab, is said to have introduced at the end of his reign an innovation with regard to the sukkah, cloak-like garment of the Jews, because they were dressing like the Muslims, and even like the most notable of them. Therefore, Jews henceforth were required to dress in the fashion of the mourning Muslims, dark blue or black. And they were required to wear black cloaks and black caps. Jews, Visigoths, and Muslims in medieval Spain by Norman Roth. And we notice Jew cavaliers mounted on richly caparisoned horses, and mules in fine cloaks, cassocks, silk doublets, and closed hoods. The Jews of Spain and Portugal by E.H. Lindo. In this rare painting by the anonymous 16th century painter, who recorded a scene of everyday life at the King's Fountain in Lipson, you can see the Negro Portuguese Jews wearing the black cloaks and caps, while others still dressed in the Moorish or Muslim habit. Thirdly, they were oppressed and lived in segregated communities called ghettos. We discussed several such cases in detail in Chapter 7, including that of the recognition of the part of Castelo de Vide, Portugal, as the former Jewish ghetto, or Juderia, of the town, where the Jews lived in peace until their forced conversion. Antagonistic Tolerance, Competitive Sharing of Religious Sites and Spaces by Robert M. Hayden. The Jewish quarter known as the Juderia. In Lipson, the chief city, there are several Juderias. In all,
the grapes for our Chardonnay come from the Watkin Vineyard in Los Carneros. Los Carneros is in...
Out of here.
In all of the cities, Jewish quarters existed. These Juderias were closed every evening when the bell sounded for prayer and were guarded by 2 watchmen appointed by the king. Any Jew found outside of the Juderia after the first 3 tollings of the bells will find 10 liveries, or according to the order of King Don Pedro, was whipped through the city, and in case of repetition of the offense, punished with the confiscation of property. Old European Jewries, Phillips and David. So these Negroes wrote spoken word set to music while wearing black hoodies and living in ghettos. You just can't make this stuff up. And these ghettos were policed by the Moors and then the Visigoths, aka the white Portuguese. These communities were not only segregated, but also had sundown laws, as in the Jim Crow South. One famous ghetto was a place called Macambo in Lipson. The word Macambo is a Portuguese word, meaning refuge for fleeing slaves. Now, why would a ghetto be called a refuge for fleeing slaves? See, the Inquisition, or persecution of the Jews, started in Spain and later came to Portugal. When these persecutions started, the Negro Jews of Spain began to flee to Portugal for a city of refuge. The number of those that were thus banished from Spain was 400,000 Jews, according to Rucklin and others. Mariana says, "'Tis not easy to reduce them to any certain number. Most writers affirm there were 170,000 families that departed. Others say there were 800,000 persons, a prodigious number, almost exceeding belief. Some of them, who were a little more dilatory in gathering together their effects and would not turn Christian, were sold for slaves. The Jews, thus driven from Spain, fled, for the most part, into Portugal." The History of the Inquisition by Philip Lombard. About 100,000 entered Portugal. They were permitted to enter under the condition that they must pay the poll tax, with the understanding that they will be asked to leave the country within 8 months. And when the time expired, many Jews were stranded because the king did not provide enough ships in time. All the black Jews who were left behind were deprived of their freedom and sold into slavery. From Babylon and Timbuktu by Dr. Rudolph R. Windsor. So Macambo became a refuge for a time for those who escaped the Spanish Inquisition until the persecutions in Portugal began. Hence the name Macambo, refuge for a fleeing slave. But soon afterwards, things began to deteriorate. See, when people think Inquisition, they think Catholics versus Protestants. They don't think Negroes and Jews. But the Inquisition quickly became a war against Negroes by the Catholic Church. Piercing shrieks, of anguish filled the land. Childless and broken-hearted, they now sought to leave, but they were told they had forfeited their right and were given a choice between baptism or slavery. And after enduring all they did, after leaving their beloved Spain with all their wealth and ease, they were submitted to baptism now, in the hope of being reunited with their children. Thousands were sold as slaves. Yet prior to being sold, they were submitted to tortures, cruelties, to revolting, to repulsive, to heart-rending, to be here narrated. All Jewish children below 14 years of age were to be torn from their parents' arms or were beaten with clubs, dragged into a church and baptized. Those under 3 years of age were given to Christians to be raised as slaves. Those between 3 and 10 years of age were put on board of a ship and conveyed to the newly discovered unwholesome island of St. Thomas, called Ilhas Pradas, or the Isles of Destruction.
The Jews have experienced fully the unequal skill of the church in administering pain. Mothers cast themselves at the feet of the tyrants and pitifully begged to be taken with their babies. They were heartlessly thrust aside. Hundreds of mothers, mad with despair, ran behind the ships as they carried off the idols of their heart and perished in the waves. The same fortitude with which the exiled people had borne so many.
The Moors and Jews of Spain, by Joseph Kroskoff. Something was happening to these Negroes in Macombo that really should sound all too familiar to a black American. They were called auto de fés, meaning acts of faith. Auto de fé, from the Portuguese, auto de fé, meaning act of faith. A ritual of public penance carried out between the 15th and 19th centuries of condemned heretics and apostates, or those who refused to convert to Christianity, imposed by the Spanish and Portuguese Inquisition as punishment and enforced by civil authorities through beatings, hangings, and its most extreme form of death, by burning. Now, if we pay close attention to this timeline, we might see that the 15th to the 19th centuries is the exact same timeline of the expulsion, enslavement, beatings, hangings, and burnings of the Negroes, which was done in the territories of the Inquisitions by the executors of the Inquisition under the guise of acts of faith. Remember, the slave trade started with papal decrees of the Holy Roman Empire. When were they made, you might ask? Well, 1450 and 1493. 1493? But wait, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. So just a year later, all this started? And within a decade, the auto de fés and later slaveries began. Let's not forget that 50 years later in 1550, the definition of Negro was changed from Black Portuguese to Native African. Lastly, when the slave colonies were established in Guinea, West Africa, by the Portuguese, which were filled with the enslaved children of the Negro Jews of Spain and Portugal, the territory, which was previously known as the Western Sudan, or Soyudan, now became known after the arrival of the enslaved Portuguese as Negro Land, and the slave coast as the Kingdom of Judah. The Kingdom of Judah by the slave traders. I could speak on what they said about the inhabitants of Ouida, but I'd rather let them speak for themselves. This quote is from Press and Bulletin Magazine, language document from the Society of Geography. Ouida, Fida, Huida, Ouida, Judah or Judah is a ancient city frequented since the 16th century by Portuguese slave traders who gave it its name. Its inhabitants were said to be Judaic and were viewed as a remnant of the scattered tribes of Israel.
See that
And the
fourth
smoking
beast?
gun is that these appellations, Negro Land and Kingdom
Stepping
of Judah,
everything.
was actually given by the Portuguese slave traders.
Stomping everything.
Now,
That's that fourth
let's
beast.
take an even closer look at the auto da fés.
Chaining up everything.
The act was started by what is called the Procession of the Penitents. The process began at the doorway of the Inquisitor's Palace, located on the Plaza of San Domingo, and worked its way toward the Central Plaza. At the front of the procession, the Inquisitors marched with their crucifix, carrying torches, whose black veils symbolized that Christ was in mourning for the heretics. The prisoners were escorted and guarded by the inquisitorial militia. And each was accompanied by two familiars of the Inquisition. Those who were sentenced to receive the punishment of public flogging also had a knotted noose or a cord around their neck as a sign that they would receive lashes or go to the galleys, or eventually be hung and burned at the stake. The images that you're seeing on your screen is from the Procession of the Penitents that would have taken place on the Altar da Fé, reenacted yearly in Spain. And these other images are the Ku Klux Klan in America. Is this just a coincidence that the Auto da Fés were mostly executions of Negro Jews, and the Ku Klux Klan is an organization
Now I'm about to put it on pause
whose
real
sole
quick.
purpose
Get
is to
a
execute the
godly
Negro
timestamp.
and Jews.
Get a good godly timestamp. You know, back with a good godly timestamp. Revelations chapter 2, 8 through 11. Unto the angel of the church of Smyrna writes these things, thus the first and the last, which was dead and now alive. I know thy works and tribulation and thy poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation for 10 days. Be faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. He that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches. He that overcome shall not be hurt by the second death. We're seeing this. We're seeing this. This is Revelations. This happened in the Dark Ages. This happened in the Dark Ages. That's a timestamp from God. We're seeing this.
Jews. Both start with a procession, with the militia holding crosses and torches on their way to lynch and potentially burn alive. Both were considered as arms of the church. Both believed that the murder of the Negro was a auto da fé, or an act of faith. When a competent number of the prisoners are convicted of heresy, either by their own voluntary or exhorted confession, or upon the evidence of witness, a day is fixed by the chief inquisitor for a gold delivery, which is called by them an auto da fé, or act of faith, and which is always upon a Sunday. The caveat against the pretender being a short but impartial history of some of the assassinations, murders, and inhumane slaughters committed by Papists, by J. Morley, 1723. Dylan waited in hope for the next auto da fé, and after a length of time, he was roused one night by the gaolers bearing lights. Having dressed himself and put on a black garment striped with white lines and a pair of drawers, which they had brought for him, he was led into the gallows for hanging, where he joined about 200 other prisoners, all ranged against the walls. They were mostly colored men. Let me say it again. They were mostly colored men. There being only about 12 white persons amongst the 200.
Those are the faithful Jews, fake Jews, holding on.
Origin, policy,
it's all good.
and history in Spain, Portugal, and France by Reverend Thompson Timpson. When we look closely at the auto da Fe's, we can see the lynching of Jesse Washington, Emmett Till, Rosewood, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Wilmington, North Carolina,
Iron Teeth, stomping
Red
everything
Summer
into
of
residue.
1919. When murderous riots and the destruction of whole towns took place in Negro communities.
Under the name of the Antichrist spirit.
Country, which is eerily similar to the events that took place all over Portugal and ghettos in the 14th to the 16th century. The rabble of Lipson, and determined to massacre the Jews, they were again addressed by a monk who cried out that it was that accursed race alone who were responsible for the deadly pestilence that caused so much havoc in Portugal in 1506. The origin of all the misfortune of Portugal and Europe were traced to these blasphemers of the Holy Mother of God. This was enough. The mob goaded into a roaring frenzy, headed by John Moco and Freda Bernardo, both monks of the Order of St. Dominic, who fiercely incited the rabble of at least 10,000 degraded and cruel ruffians to the most disgraceful deeds. Laurent, a secretary of the Court of Blood, says of this massacre in her book, Critical History of the Inquisition, that they slew and mangled their victims, casting many while still alive into the fires. The Negroes and the vilest rabble had kindled at the church doors, to which they kept constantly adding fuel. On Monday, the numbers of the mob were considerably increased from the surrounding villages. The massacre and butchery of the new Christians was continued. The houses were broken, whole families being murdered. The merciless wretches dashed out the brains of the infants against the wall. Pregnant women were thrown from windows on pikes of those below. Women were outraged, and virgins were violated. Such were the horrors committed in the capital of Portugal in that day. 12 centuries of Jewish persecution, a brief outline of the sufferings of the Hebrew race in Christian lands, by Gustav Perelson, 1898. So in the massacre of 1506 in Portugal, according to the author, they slew and mangled their victims while casting many still alive.
Wells Fargo has donated over $745 million to help address housing access and affordability, part of over $2 billion to strengthen local communities over the last 5 years. Doing gets it done.
Get out of here, man.
You're a fortress. Nothing can break your...
And now, a message
Get out of here.
into the fire.
Don't make me listen to that.
Negroes.
Usually the skip button comes, but this time they want to.
The writer
Whatever.
even calls this quote the massacre and butchery of the new Christians. Remember, it was the black Portuguese Jews who were converted to be new Christians. So what was the name of this particular massacre? Vitimus du Massacre Judaico in 1506 in Rossio Square, right outside the Church of St. Dominic. as the writer confirms. The mob goaded into a roaring frenzy.
This is the foundation of your local Christianity.
Bernardo, both monks.
When Revelations talk about the whore drunk off the blood of the saints, that's what it's talking about.
Degrading, cruel, rough.
This
the most disgraceful
and everything, including to today.
There are walking tours of this place in Libsyn to this day. The estimate is that nearly 4,000 people were executed that day. This is the same location where slaves gathered for different forms of spiritual assistance and brotherhood during the start of the slave trade in the 15th century. Then, there are unknown, unnamed massacres and mass graves. For instance, in the March of 2019, an interesting discovery was found in Lagos, Portugal, in a rubbish dump.
Now we have an understanding. That's what Revelations was talking about when it's the mystery of Babylon, the whore that rides the beast, the scarlet beast. Those are the same colors as the Roman Catholic Church, the same ones who did this that we just seen. Daniel seen it. The fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, strong exceedingly, and it had iron teeth. It devoured and broke in pieces and stamped in the residue with its feet. And it was different from all the rest of the beasts. Now we're seeing this. Now it's starting to make sense to you, ain't it? Now it's starting to make sense to you, ain't it? Now, we're going to go to the Book of Mormon to make it clearer. To make it clearer. And remember in the last lesson, we did the timestamp in history. Christopher Columbus came over here. You know what I'm saying? The spirit was on Christopher Columbus because he was reading the Bible. It doesn't mean he was a holy man. He was just reading the Bible. And he knew that there was other land over here. So when he came over here, he was led through the word of God. However, when he came over here, he brought that same stuff that was destroying the true Jews out of Europe. Just like Daniel said, taking them up from the root. Now we're going to read Nephi 13. All the way to 8. First Nephi chapter 13, 4 through 8. And it came to pass that I saw among the nations of the Gentiles the formation of a great church. And the angel said unto me, Behold, the formation of a great church, which is most abominable above all other churches, which slay the saints of God, yea, and torture them, and bind them down, and yoke them with a yoke of iron, and bring them down into captivity. And it came to pass that I beheld this great and abominable church, and I saw the devil, that he was the founder of it. And I saw gold and silver and silk and scarlet and fine twine, linen, and all manners of precious clothes. And I saw many harlots. And the angel spoke unto me, saying, Behold, the gold and the silver and the silk and the scarlets and the fine twine, linen, and the precious clothes, and the harlots are the desires of this great and abominable church. And also for the praise of the world, they destroy the saints of God and bring them down into captivity. Now, it's not this American church, all they want is a blessing. I've been a victim to this because I carry the light and the crown, and that is crafted on against whether I'm in the church or anywhere else in this world, because the abominable church is Satan's kingdom, but it's just not consolidated to the four walls of the church. It's the whole web of this government. You know what I mean? And I'm about to prove it with some more scriptures. And to collaborate a little bit on what we just seen, the Spirit tells me that during the time, because we seen that either they had to convert to Christianity or die. You know what I'm saying? It says somewhere in the Bible, all those who take the mark of the beast and worship his image, you know what I'm saying, will not make it. You feel me? These popes changed the image of Christ's face into a white face. So for the Jews who converted to Christianity to bow down to a different image, that's kind of like what Revelation's saying. You see? And Father, help me. Give me the words to say. Don't let it go. Don't let it go. And this is true history. Let's go to Matthew. Let's go to Matthew 24. Turn right to it. Turn right to it. Like, boom, Matthew 24. Ain't no marks or nothing. Turn right to it. Matthew 24. Verse 4. And Yeshua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man, the disciples is asking, what are the signs of the last days? The first thing Christ said is, take heed that no man shall deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. By the fourth beast, stomping out everything. By the fourth beast, stomping out everything. Changing everything around. Where you think the light is the darkness, and the darkness is the light. That's why the abominable church that we just read, they want clothes, scarlet, harlots. And they kill the true saints for the praise of the world. Because I call it, they've been taken over by the Sith, killing the real Jedi. And the harlots that they want is all the sex magic that you guys do. And you say you are of God, but you do all these sex magics, and you go into these dungeons, and everybody want to have the Esther anointing, but they took most of Esther out of the book. When you read the full book of Esther, she didn't even like the king, and she said all types of horrible stuff. And every time you got to pay your dues, like in the modern time, and you go to these dungeons and let these people have their way with you, every satanic holiday and every whatever goes on in darkness, it all stems from that. You know what I'm saying? When they was doing them tortures and stuff to our people, they do these tortures in these dungeons over here. So these people can get their rocks kicked off, so they can feel like they lived back in them days, wishing that they was living back in them days because they're sick. And everybody that want to be involved in that, this is what it is. Let me put it on pause real quick and show you a scripture. Isaiah 51, verse 22 and 30. Verse 22 and 23. Thus says the Most High God, and the God that plead the cause of his people. Behold, I have taken out of the hand the cup of trembling, even the drag of the cup of my fury. Thou shalt no more drink it again, but I will put it into the hands of them that afflict thee, which say unto thy soul, that's your will, mind, and emotions, bow down, that we may go over, and that thou lie thy body as the ground and as the street to them that went over. You see that? That's that's paying your dues in this sick satanic society that hides behind Christ, but it's really the abominable church. It's really the whore, drunk off the blood of the saints, drunk off your efforts. You can't have nothing unless you reenact to get somebody else's rocks kicked off, wishing they was living in the dark ages. And y'all know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? This is all races. You know what I'm saying? It ain't just happening to my people. This is all races. Like, for reals. And God is about to deliver us all. He's about to deliver us all from this. Got another scripture for you. All right. Malachi 4, 10 and 12. But in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughters of Zion, like a woman in travail. For now shalt thou go out of the city. What? Jerusalem. You know what I'm saying? All the lessons we done, the last few lessons, we know the history now. We came out of Jerusalem. Thou shalt come out of the city, and thou shalt dwell in the field. What is the field? The western side of Europe, the Isles, England, Spain, Portugal, France. You know, that's the field. And thou shalt go even to Babylon. What is Babylon? Over here in America, because we know the whore that sits upon great waters, the one that drank up the blood of the saints, we know that that's the whore. We know that's Babylon. There shalt thou be delivered. There the Most High God shall redeem thee from the hand of thy enemy. You know what I'm saying? This is this time. Like a change is coming. Now, also, many nations are gathered against thee, that say unto her, let her be defiled, and let our eyes look upon Zion. You know, all up in these dungeons, you gotta pay your dues. They just want to defile you. And there's no two-way street. It's a one-way street when you sleeping with the devil. And that's for my woman, like my black women and all women. Because the reason why I say that is because it says in this same scripture, and thou, O tower of flocks and stronghold of the daughters of Zion, unto thee shall it come, even the first dominion, the kingdom shall come unto the daughters of Jerusalem. So, you know what I'm saying? Even the first dominion. So it's coming to, the freedom is coming to the first, it's coming to the daughters of Zion, and then everybody else that want to cling with the Israelites, the true doctrine. But they know not, verse 12 down here, let's say, they say, let her be defiled, and let our eyes look upon Zion. But they know not the thoughts of the Most High God, neither understand thy his counsel, for he shall gather them as the sheaf unto the floor. And I like to say, they know not the thoughts of your father. You have never been forsaken. Let me put this on pause one time. All right, back to Matthew 24. Now, the first thing Christ said is, do not be deceived when it's pertaining to the last days. The book of Nephi, when the Gentiles came over here, they saw the formation of a great church, most abominable above all. Satan was the founder of that church. That's what the book of Nephi said. They want silk, clothes, scarlet, harlots, and they destroy the true saints of the world. And we've seen the tortures. Just accept, they had the little crucifix over them. Just accept Christ. You know what I'm saying? But that's the Antichrist. And this really happened. So, and Uzziah answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and shall deceive many. And there shall be wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Now, we're going back to the Book of Mormon. We're going to 14. Chapter 1 Nephi, chapter 14. And this is 16. Let's just read 16. And as there began to be wars and rumors of wars among... All right, let's just start at 15, because it's talking about the abominable church. And it came to pass that I beheld that the wrath of God was poured out upon that great and abominable church, insomuch that there were wars and rumors of wars among all nations and kindreds of the earth. And as there began to be wars and rumors of wars, all the nations which belong to the mother of abominations, the angel spoke unto me, saying, behold, the wrath of God is upon the mother of harlots, and behold, thou seest all these things. And when that day cometh, that the wrath of God is poured out upon the mother of harlots, which is the great and abominable church of all the earth, whose founder is the devil, then at that day the Most High God, then at that day the work of the Father shall commence in preparing the way for the fulfillment of his covenant, which he had made to his people, who are the house of Israel. That is to bring us back. Now, the abominable church isn't just four walls. The abominable church is this construct of this country. The abominable church is the construct of this country. We're going to the book of Adam and Eve. And let's see what did God say to the book. Let's see what did God say to Adam and Eve about what will happen on the west side of the earth. Adam left the east side of the border, or let's just read it. They were not very far from the cave when Satan came towards them and hid himself between them and the cave under the form of two ravaging lions, 3 days without food, that came towards Adam and Eve as if to break them into pieces and devour them. And Adam and Eve cried and prayed to God to deliver them from their paws. Then the word of the Most High God came to them and drove away the lions from them. God said unto Adam, O Adam, what do thou seek on the west border? And why have you left thy own accord in the east border, in which was your living place? Now then, turn back to your cave and remain in it, so that Satan won't deceive you or work his purpose over you. For in this west border, O Adam, there will go forth a descendant that shall replenish it, and they will defile themselves with their sins and with the yielding to the commands of Satan, and by following his works. Therefore will I bring over them the waters of a flood and overwhelm them all. But I will deliver what is left of the righteous amongst them. I got to put that in there because God ain't about to mess with the righteous. And that's a prophecy from the beginning of time. So when you have Christ saying there'll be wars and rumors of wars, make sure no one deceives you. That's the first thing he said. Make sure no one deceives you. That's because the switch doesn't happen. The takeover doesn't happen. The fourth beast, you know what I'm saying, devour with great teeth and devour everything. That really is happening. And this is what Christ is talking about. Same thing with the book of Nephi. The great and abominable church stars wars. America stars wars. The deep state. You know what I'm saying? The demonic side. The side that when we're going to finish reading Daniel, them 3 horns was taken up and 1 horn came up with many eyes. That's, remember, we're fast forwarding into time now. So, verse 6, ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not. For nation shall rise up against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in divers places, but these are the beginning of sorrows. They then shall ye be delivered up to be afflicted, and they shall kill you, and they shall hate you for all nations for my name's sake. And that happened in the dark ages. We just seen that. It's not about to happen to us this time. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall arise and deceive many. And that's happening right now. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall grow cold. Iniquity is constantly sinning, constantly doing thy will, doing thy will, doing thy will, constantly. But he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached unto all the world for a witness unto all nations. And then shall the end come. What gospel? The Israelite gospel shall be preached, not the gospel of the Roman Catholic Church, which was made by Satan. Not that gospel. And how do I know that? Check this out. Verse 15. Then ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place. Whosoever readeth, let him understandeth. We're reading Daniel. Now we're understanding Daniel. To all the Gentiles out there, y'all been reading Daniel for years and you couldn't get this. Because once the Israelite touch it, it hits another way. You know, I'll tell you like Christ said, you read the scriptures thinking that it gives you eternal life when it speaks about me. Now, let me bring it down to a lower level. You read the scriptures, Gentiles, thinking that you know what I'm saying, want eternal life, but it talks about us. All right. Starting back, Matthew 24, verse 15. Then ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place. Whosoever readeth, let him understandeth. Now let's go back to Daniel. To get it. Verse 8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the root. That's black nobility, you know what I'm saying? In Europe, that's the changing of the guard of the Black Mary, the Black Christ, who's the people. And this little horn, now we're fast forwarding into the future. Now we're fast forwarding into the future. Now because the beast is terrible, you know what I'm saying, with the teeth and the iron teeth, he done did his work now. Now we're fast forwarding into the future with this little horn. This is what Christ is talking about. He that readeth, let him have understanding. What Daniel's saying is being unlocked today. There came up amongst them a little horn, before whom were the 3 of the first horns plucked up by the root. We seen that. And beheld this horn were eyes like eyes of a man, and a mouth that speak great things. Because that's the technology. The cameras in your eyes, and all the mind control, and cameras everywhere, and they're just laughing and he and ha having a good time with God's creation, whether you a Jew or a Gentile. Straight up, foot on the neck. And right here it says 3 of the one plucked up by the root. From 1492 to 1816. The reason why I said 1816, because the first camera was made 1816. The first radio was made 1895. The first TV was 1927. Now I'm about to set it up, and we're about to look at this technology boom.
This is the story of a 30-year search by U.S. intelligence agencies to perfect mind control. Some of those engaged in that search have agreed to talk about it for the first time. One said, "I think every last one of us felt sorry to attempt this kind of thing. We knew we were crossing the line." The search would be endless. From brothels, an agent says, we learned a lot about human nature in the bedroom, to the mystical rites of a magical mushroom ceremony performed by an Indian shaman, to a Spanish bull ring. The bull has had electrodes implanted in the brain and is controlled by a scientist. There would be victims. One intelligence agency tried to peel this man's mind back to reveal its deepest secrets. I lived through it. This man worked on some of these programs. He would write of his work, "It was fun, fun, fun." This is the story of the search for mind control.
So that
ABC News Close-Up, Mission Mind Control.
It's in the 60s. You can just imagine
ABC News
what the technology is now.
Paul Altmaier. Pieces of it. This is a story that has been told in bits and pieces. This is an attempt to pull most of it together. We know we don't have the full story. We do, however, have some striking new revelations and insights. The story begins here, just off the nation's front yard, the Mall. The buildings behind me were the headquarters for the World War II Office of Strategic Services. It was here that the first halting steps toward mind control began. The shaper and molder of OSS was General Wild Bill Donovan. He said of his group's work, "We may have made mistakes, but we were not afraid to try things that were never done before." In this anything-goes atmosphere, Donovan appointed this man, Stanley Lovell, a Boston industrialist, to break new ground in many scientific and technical fields. Donovan called Lovell his Dr. Moriarty, after the fiendish professor in Sherlock Holmes. Lovell liked the name and posed for this Saturday Evening Post photo. He later wrote of his OSS job that it was, quote, to stimulate the PEC's bad boy beneath the surface of every American scientist and to say to him, throw all of your normal law-abiding concepts out of the window. Here's a chance to raise merry hell. It was in this atmosphere that the search for mind control began.
That one horn.
This bizarre man would be an active participant in that search over the next 2 decades.
Mouth of a man.
His name is George White, an OSS captain who had formerly been with the Bureau of Narcotics. In his diary, seen here publicly for the first time, White left a legacy of the darker side of American intelligence work. He received his early OSS training at the British-run school at Oshawa, Canada, the same school where Ian Fleming, the creator of James Bond, was trained.
Look at that, James
White
Bond.
referred to the school in his diaries as the Oshawa School of Mayhem and Murder. Mike Burke, former OSS colleague of White's and now president of Madison Square Garden Center.
Very compelling fellow, mysterious fellow, almost mystical fellow. He was fascinating because you knew something about him, but not enough about him to really get a fix on him. He also knew a great deal about the swifter elements of society, the gamier side of life, and he was very impressive in his technical knowledge of the underworld, so to speak.
He said, one of our men gets beat up. He says, you have to act real fast and teach these guys a lesson.
Charles Siragusa, a former narcotics officer and friend of White's.
He'll come around, he says, and break your kneecaps. And with that, one guy laughed, and George would always have a little Billy with him. And this one guy saw us naked. George White turned around and whapped him across the neck with it. Then he picked up a pool stick and started beating everybody up.
He made his point.
And he made his point.
George White was not a man of understatement or subtleties. His boss at OSS, Stanley Lovell, referred to him as deadly and dedicated. In this note from White's diaries, it says, call Lovell regarding TD. TD was a rather transparent cover.
All of this is the
Truth
Abominable
Drug.
Church. All of it.
George White worked with the Truth Drug Committee here at St. Elizabeth's Hospital in the nation's capital. They experimented with mescaline, scopolamine, and marijuana on unwitting victims. The committee soon learned there was no easy panacea, no truth drug at this stage. But White and later colleagues would not stop trying. The goal remained the same. As this 1952 CIA memo says, the aim is controlling an individual to the point where he will do our bidding against his will, and even against such fundamental laws of nature as self-preservation.
That's that mouth just
But
laughing.
it was a discovery here in Basel, Switzerland, at Sandoz Laboratories by Dr. Albert Hoffman that led the intelligence agencies of America to believe that they had found the panacea.
Hammer in the eye.
The discovery was lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD. The film that you see is considered by many experts to be the closest illustration of the effects of a hallucinogenic.
Not in the herb.
It was one of the
It's
first
LSD.
times that anybody had run into a powerful drug that was different than anything else that they knew anything about.
John Gittinger, recently retired chief psychologist for the CIA. This is the first time Gittinger has been interviewed publicly.
We could disable a whole city by putting a very small amount on a water supply. After all of these years of us, those of us who were involved in looking for this secret drug, this was the only thing that began to look for the first time like it might be something like that.
The CIA's interest in LSD was intense. The worry was that the Russians would get hold of it. Were the Soviets into LSD?
I'm going to have to say I'm sure they were, but if you ask me to prove it, I've never seen any direct proof of it.
Now we're going to do a pause timestamp in the Bible. Now we're about to do a timestamp pause in the Bible, and we're going to Habakkuk 2, verse 15. Woe unto them that give his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle unto him that wait a second. Woe unto them that give his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him to make him drunk also, that thou mayest look upon his nakedness. Woe unto them that gives his neighbor drink, that putteth the bottle to him and make him drunk also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. The prophets saw all of this. The God showed them the future. They saw all of this. See how accurate the Bible is? Do you see how accurate the word of the living God is? He's been with you in the hard times. He's catching every tear. He knows exactly what you need. You just have to have faith. And the good thing about God is just the faith of a mustard seed. You don't need to be all big and extravagant. That's Satan. That's Luciferian. I'm the best. I'm the prettiest. I'm this. Just prideful. That's why you got put down. All you need is just say, I need help. I need help down here in this last kingdom. Put this on pause one time. You know what I'm saying?
In their never-ending search for the miracle weapon, CIA operatives searched here in the remote mountain areas of southern Mexico for what up to then had been considered a myth: magic mushrooms. They used this man, a part-time chemist for the CIA, to dupe this man, a vice president of a bank and an amateur mycologist or mushroom expert, to try to get to the magic mushrooms and turn them into a drug. But it would be the amateur, R. Gordon Wasson and his colleagues, who would win the race and develop the drug psilocybin from the magic mushrooms.
We went into the Mazatec area, far from the highways, remote from Mexico City. There we found that rotten bagasse, as it's called, bagasso, covered with mushrooms. These mushrooms I didn't know, had never seen. They were the sacred mushrooms.
Wasson would also discover and record the ancient mystical rites of the mushrooms from a local shaman or magical priestess, Maria Sabina.
And we were seeing incredible sights. They would go slowly or they would go fast as I ordained. All your senses are rendered acute. We say that you see visions, you see hallucinations, but that doesn't begin to tell this story. The hallucinations are only part of it. You hear sounds, you smell things. The night was thrilling.
Word of Wasson's discovery reached the CIA quickly. Dr. James Moore, a University of Delaware chemist, secretly served the CIA preparing deadly chemicals on short notice. Moore was instructed to get close to Wasson and accompany him on another trip to Mexico to get the magic mushrooms. Internal documents show the CIA felt a drug derived from the mushrooms could remain an agency secret. What in the world were they looking for with the magic mushrooms?
I think the best answer to that is that they were looking for fundamental information on compounds that would be capable of causing changes in behavior, changes in mental attitude.
Did you ever consider what would have happened if any of these substances were given to, say, unwitting people?
Oh, I don't remember having considered that specifically.
What if you... I trust perhaps you've thought about it.
Well, I haven't worried about it. Your question again, what would I have thought had I known that
any of these substances would
have been given to
unwitting persons?
You mean a a hostile agent of another government?
No, I mean,
think that was probably one of the things they had in mind.
testing it out on an American citizen.
I guess I must seem very, very cold-blooded about this, but I don't recall ever having been very much preoccupied with that issue.
But many drugs were tested in this way. A decision was made at the highest levels of the CIA to do testing on unwitting Americans. As one CIA document says, such testing would be operationally realistic. A former CIA official who worked on these programs describes for the first time how the decision was made. He did not wish to be filmed or recorded. Thus his remarks are read by someone else.
I think every last one of us felt sorry to attempt this kind of thing. We knew we were crossing the line. Every decent kid knows he shouldn't steal, but he does it sometimes. We knew damn well we didn't want anyone else to know what we were doing.
The decision was made to do testing on unwitting victims. It was decided they should be on the fringes of society because they were most vulnerable.
It was the borderline underworld. Prostitutes, drug addicts, and other small-timers would be powerless to seek any kind of revenge in case they found out.
Now the whole world sprung out 50 years later,
and
70
as their
years
predecessors
later.
had a decade earlier, the CIA turned to George White for
Stuck
help.
in the party zone.
White was now a high-ranking narcotics
Not
official.
me.
And by this time, the stories about George
blood of
White
Christ
were
against you.
legendary.
So the waiter says, "You may help you, monsieur?" And George stuck it in the guy's face like this in this crowded restaurant.
George White did not mind bending the law, and he knew the street well. He was the ideal choice for what the CIA had in mind.
We were Ivy League, white, middle class. We were naive, totally naive about this, and he felt pretty expert. He knew the whores, the pimps, the people who brought in the drugs.
White set up so-called safe houses for the CIA in New York, here in Greenwich Village. And later in San Francisco, in this hotel,
Bay Area,
and in an apartment atop Telegraph Hill with a commanding view of San Francisco Bay. While the existence of these safe houses was disclosed last year, details of what took place within them has not been told. A former CIA official who worked in the safe houses reveals that they were used not only for drug testing, but to study sexual behavior and how it could be used to manipulate people.
We did quite a study of prostitutes and their behavior. How do you take a woman who is willing to use her body to get money out of a guy
first
to get her to
G.I.
talk
Jane.
about things which are much more important, like state secrets?
And now you see today.
We learned a lot about human nature in the bedroom. We started to pick
You
up
see what's
knowledge
going on
that could
today.
be
I'm not
used
even
in
about to
operations.
collaborate.
There would be victims in all of this.
We learned a lot about human nature in the bedroom. We started to pick up knowledge that could be used in operations.
There would be victims in all of this, but as the agency knew, they couldn't fight back. Some entries from George White's diaries. Clarice gets horrors. Janet, sky high. As one agency memo says, we have no answer to the moral question. The safe houses were not the only testing grounds. Millions of dollars would be spent on LSD research at universities throughout the country. And word would begin to spread on campus about this so-called mind-blowing drug. And suddenly, there was the counterculture of the 60s.
I give the CIA a total credit for sponsoring and initiating the entire consciousness movement, counterculture events of the 1960s.
Dr. Timothy Leary, the 1960s Johnny Appleseed of LSD.
The CIA funded and supported and encouraged hundreds of young psychiatrists to experiment with this drug. The fallout from that was that the young psychologists began taking it themselves, discovering that it was an intelligence-enhancing, consciousness-raising experience.
I know that some of the studies in which the CIA had...
History will judge the role of the CIA and other intelligence agencies in unwittingly contributing to the counterculture of the 60s through their intense interest in LSD and other hallucinogenics. for the moment at least, the argument can be made that the CIA helped usher in the age of Aquarius.
ABC News Close-Up will continue in a moment.
Being careful about
In a moment.
God want me to show
being careful
y'all
about my body
ain't
doesn't
nothing
just mean
changed.
major
These
things
are
like going to
commercials from the
breast exams.
60s.
I'm
Check
even
it out.
careful about pain
Ain't
relievers.
nothing changed.
Plain aspirin sometimes upset my stomach, so I use Bufferin. It
Pill
adds
for
protection.
everything.
I'm careful about what goes into my body. Bufferin gives me an added relief action I want. Tylenol doesn't.
Only one
Big
leading tablet
program.
has both an added relief action in many cases that Tylenol never provides, and protection
Ain't nothing
ingredients.
changed.
Bufferin.
Now I'm careful to get both with Bufferin.
Your sink traps clogged with grease.
Same thing.
Crystal Drano.
I'll pour in liquid plumber.
Don't. It may not work
Subliminal
on that
messages.
grease clog.
No?
Crystal Drano will.
Besides, he's
Look,
rocking.
liquid plumber's quiet. It's not melting that
That's
grease.
that sex.
Drano is. It broke
Ain't nothing
through.
changed.
Will Drano hurt metal pipes?
No.
So liquid plumber didn't break that grease clog. I'm switching to Drano.
To make clogs go, better use Drano.
Saturday, live on ABC. The Forest Hills Men's Invitational from the legendary West Side Tennis Club. Then live, third round coverage of the most prestigious ladies golf event. Hollis Stacey goes for her third straight U.S. Women's Open title. And Red Hot Nancy Lopez shoots for her elusive first Open victory. And on ABC's Wide World of Sports, rodeo excitement from the Wild West, plus high speeds, high thrills, hydroplane action, championship tennis, golf, and ABC's Wide World of Sports, Saturday.
Wednesday on 8 is enough.
We got the buggy fever.
The Bradford girls go disco crazy.
Hey, hiya, hun. What do you say we get down?
And the summer's off to a red hot start. And Charlie's Angels play the horses.
I want to be a jockey.
But end up in a dead heat with death. Then, the ghost of Jack the Ripper haunts the back streets of Vegas.
Tomorrow, starting at 8, 7 Central and Mountain
Put
on
that coke in her nose.
A jockey.
But end up in a dead heat with death. Then, the ghost of Jack the Ripper haunts the back streets of Vegas.
Tomorrow, starting at 8,
Ain't nothing
7
changed,
Central
man.
and
Just
Mountain on
program.
ABC.
Old generation to the new generation. Just program. Ain't nothing changed. Nothing.
Covering a span of history such as we are.
Care about people's minds. It's unbelievable.
A suit filed by Elizabeth Barrett against the Army Chemical Corps is now pending in federal court. Other Army experiments continued on mental patients around the country. Work done at the Tulane Medical Center in New Orleans involved several drugs, hallucinogenics, and electrodes implanted in the brain. The chief researcher was Dr. Russell Monroe, now head of the psychiatry department at the University of Maryland. These are various progress reports written by Dr. Monroe and recently obtained by ABC News. From one of the progress reports, a report of a woman who had electrodes implanted in the brain and was then given LSD and other drugs. She became agitated, cried, lapsed into a trance-like state. Felt as if she were about to have a convulsion, experienced waves of darkness and light, had bizarre sensations in her neck and legs, said somebody was trying to manipulate her body. At this point, Dr. Monroe wrote that the woman was obviously having paranoid ideas. As a layperson,
look at this sicko.
Perhaps you can enlighten me. What therapeutic effect would the type of experiment that I just described have on a patient?
Well, the therapeutic effect would be indirect.
Was this patient aware that she was being given LSD?
Yes, I mean, they were told that they would be given some medication, and they
specifically LSD.
Well, we told them. I don't think that they would have even known what LSD was then at the time.
Look
they
at
were
him.
told that
Look
they
at
were
his
going to
eyebrows.
they would be given some medication which might
Trying to
make them
signal
feel
mixed
worse.
message.
Dr. Monroe, what do you think the Army Chemical Corps was looking for in all of this testing?
Interviewer
They were looking for an incapacitating agent.
is on this side.
An agent that would not harm the person permanently, but would incapacitate them temporarily. That seemed like a humanistic way to to wage a war, if war is necessary.
When
Take them temporarily.
See what he said?
That seemed like a humanistic way to to wage a war, if war is necessary.
When Jay
The war is against Israel.
That seemed like a humanistic way to to wage a war, if war is necessary.
When James Thorne
Take them temporarily. That seemed like a humanistic way to to wage a war, if war is necessary.
When James Dr. Monroe, what do you think the Army Chemical Corps was looking for?
The war is against Israel
They were looking for an incapacitating agent.
and the population of the United States.
Harm the person permanently, but would incapacitate them temporarily. That seemed like a humanistic way to to wage a war, if war is necessary.
When James Thornwell was given LSD by Army intelligence in 1961,
Who do you see
this time it was
coming
no
up next?
experiment.
This is a subliminal
This time,
message.
the express purpose
Like back
was to
then,
peel back Thornwell's brain.
back then,
any secret
they
within
knew
it.
what it was.
This time, the Army had gone
They
operational.
knew what it was. So this is a
as
subliminal
reported on
message.
ABC last January, was an
This is
Army
ABC
private stationed
News.
in Orléans, France. Classified documents were missing from his unit.
To wage a war, and then
became a
they got the
suspect.
black man coming up next.
His 2.5
Back then,
month
everybody that was
interrogation
with the sick stuff that's with us
administration
now,
of
they
sodium
knew that,
pentothal,
that's the
hypnosis,
target.
Isolation and deprivation of sleep.
They knew that that's
Army
the
documents
target.
obtained by ABC.
Wage a war, if war is necessary.
Then the next image is the black
James
man,
Thornwell was given LSD by Army intelligence in 1961.
the Israelite.
This time it was no experiment.
And then
This time the
you wonder why we all messed up
peel
on
back
drugs.
Thornwell's brain.
You wonder why we
to
all
bear
scrambled.
Any secret within it.
And the cool thing about it is your own family will do it to you.
Thornwell,
to wage a war, if war is necessary.
when James
Now,
Thornwell was given
timestamp.
LSD by Army intelligence in
Wait a
this
second.
time it was
Wait a
no
second.
experiment.
Ain't no timestamp. Wait a
This
second.
time the express purpose was to peel back Thornwell's brain to bear any secret within it. This time the Army had gone operational. Thornwell, as reported on ABC last January, was an Army private stationed in Orléans, France. Classified documents were missing from his unit. Thornwell became a suspect. His 2.5-month interrogation included administration of sodium pentothal, hypnosis, isolation, and deprivation of sleep. Army documents obtained by ABC News refer to this interrogation as conventional. Despite the severe questioning, Army intelligence was getting nowhere with Thornwell, and it was decided to slip him LSD. For 16 years, Thornwell never knew what had hit him.
Tell me about the acid.
I'd rather not. It's a bad trip. It's a bad trip. That was a bad trip. The pain was so excruciating. Felt like somebody was sticking me with 1,000,000 pins. You know, just everywhere. Oh, it just...
What's up, baby?
I walked around.
What's up?
Oh, I can talk. I lived through it. I lived through it.
No charges were ever brought by the Army against.
Now, how that guy was blinking, and it was like if there was war, if there will be war, if it won't need be basically on the technology. And then the next thing that you see is a black man. See, this little programming been going on since back then. So whoever was on the racist tip back then, whoever was on a tip who knew who we were back then, when they saw that, they automatically knew that the target was the Israelite. And anybody that want to help. That's why they killed all the leaders. It don't matter if you black, white. It don't matter. You know what I'm saying? Bob Marley. You know what I'm saying? The CIA killed him. The Beatles singing Love, John Lennon, whatever his name was. Back then, anybody who had frequency that was after you, like frequency of love, to fight against the status quo. But see, Satan always, you know what I'm saying, let you have fake love, feel free, screw everybody, flower power, yeah, that love. But when it comes to the real love, you know what I'm saying, that established peace for generations, and the Jedi will be back on top instead of the Sith. He'll knock you down all. So I just want to just read a couple of scriptures of Michael, and then we're going to show you how this same fourth beast, devouring, most dreadful, stamping in the residue, most blaspheme of all beasts, how it's still operating. Check this out. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which stand for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to the same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. Daniel 12, verse 1. Revelations 12, verse 7. And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And that great dragon was cast down, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast down into the earth, and his angels was cast down with him. Remember, what did Adam and Eve, what did God say to Adam and Eve, to their future descendants on the west side of the earth? Satan, his descendants will yield to the beast and all the workings of Satan. That will happen on the west side of the earth. Now we have another timestamp, but this time it's a video. Now watch this. Eyes open. Watch. Timestamp. Now this is the fourth beast. This is the little horn protruding out the beast with eyes of a man and a mouth of a man speaking great things. Blaspheming God. Blaspheming God. Look. Michael.
You can do anything you want. Why this?
I don't want to be stuck behind the desk.
But out on your own?
I won't be alone.
And it.
I'll be a part of a team, making an impact.
Great job.
So what do you say, Mom?
Then she laughs.
Wow. This new special forces device
Then she laughs.
I want to be stuck behind a desk.
But out on your own?
I won't be alone.
And it.
I'll be a part of a team, making an impact.
Great job.
So what do you... I want to be stuck behind a desk.
But out on your own?
I won't be alone.
And it.
I'll be a part of a team, making an impact.
Great job.
So what do you say, Mom?
She laughs. Why she laugh? Her son about to die. But she laughs.
So what are you saying? I won't be alone. I'll be a part of a team, making an impact. So what are you saying, Mom?
And she laughs. Why would she laugh? Her baby about to go to war. Why would she laugh? Why would she laugh? You know why? You know why she'll laugh? Michael. That's a code word. To kill all the Israelites like the Inquisition. That's a code word to kill all the Christians. See, this is the fourth beast. Terrible. Terrible. Stomping the residue of everything. But why would she laugh? Making an impact. You want to know why? We already know. If you've been following the lessons, you already know. Isaiah 14, the proverb against the king of Babylon. The Most High God has broke the staff of the wicked and the scepters of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continuous stroke. Got to make an impact. He who smote the people with wrath with a continuous stroke. I got to make an impact. So every time y'all would go down there to them dungeons and try to do sex magic and stuff like that, you seen the history, especially my women. You're just fulfilling the fantasies of these sickos, wishing that they lived back in them days. Your God's daughters, all of y'all, to the Jew first and to the Gentile. Straight up. This is the fourth beast. It's terrible. The same spirit, the same blood, bad blood that was killing all the Jews, trying to make them turn to Catholic, which is the abominable church, is the same one who controls the powers that be. And then you see this army commercial coming out. It's been out. I've been knowing this for years. I'm like, dang, like that? Trying to blaspheme against God, because Michael's going to stand up for God's people, whether you Jew or Gentile, but he's going to stand up for the Jews, the true Jews, and then the Gentiles who love Christ. He's going to stand up for us and fight for us because we're surrounded. And then y'all don't accept the light or the crown. You really think, you know what I'm saying, you're serving God, and you're really not. And then you want to hate against the Israelites. All you preachers out there want to hate against the Israelites. You don't know nothing. That's what I said in the beginning, a long time ago. Y'all don't know nothing. Y'all just emotional. Don't know God. You are of the abominable church. You should be ashamed, but how can you be ashamed if you didn't know any better? You was ignorant. And then we're looking at the CIA mind control. Who's in charge of that? The army. You know what I'm saying? Making that drug to where you go against your free will. And then fast forward to modern day and you see this crap. I call it the goon squad. These people out here, this is what they do. This is what they do. You didn't know you didn't know the Bible was this potent, huh? You didn't know the Bible was this potent. You didn't know. Job 24, verse 13 through 16. They are those that rebel against the light. That's the true light, the Israelite, the light of God, the crown, the glory. They know not the way thereof, nor abide in their path. They say they know of God, but they do these things because they know not the Father. That's what Christ said. The murderer arise with the light. That's Satan's light. Killeth the poor and needy, and in the night as a thief. They think they really serving God. doing all this abominable stuff to God's image, the very stuff that they wouldn't want to happen to them. But they hooked up with this damn satanic government, and they really think they really think they win. But then Satan can't kill me, so promise y'all a kingdom. Ain't no kingdom. The eyes also of the adulterer wait for the twilight, saying, no eye shall see me, and disguise his face. In the dark they dig through the houses which they have marked for themselves for the day. They know not the light. So they're hunting you down. Oh, she looked good. He looked good. He got the light. I need that. And they're hunting you down and making portals through your houses through technology and magic. Straight up. And these and I'm not going. And these people is propped up by your satanic government. You know what I'm saying? But God's word is potent. I'll be back. Give me a second.
Executing and administering the procedures. You're asking whether an individual can be, under hypnosis, influenced, coerced, persuaded, shaped to perform an antisocial act, or a destructive act, or an act of violence.
Great things
My
in a
answer
man's
would be
mouth.
yes.
Captain Marco, will you be good enough to lend Raymond your pistol, please? Yes, ma'am.
He on that drug. He on that mind control.
Thanks, Ben. Sure, kid.
Shoot Bobby, Raymond. Through the forehead.
Yes, ma'am.
And look at Bobby smiling. That's probably real figs.
How valuable? Yes, ma'am.
Look at Bobby smiling.
Thanks, Ben. Sure, kid.
Shoot Bobby, Raymond.
It's the fourth beast.
Through the forehead.
Different from all other beasts.
Yes, ma'am.
Destroying everything.
How valuable a tool can hypnosis be?
The fourth beast. Different from all the rest.
Thanks, Ben. Sure, kid.
Iron teeth.
Shoot Bobby, Raymond. Through the forehead.
Yes, ma'am.
That's that horn. With eyes all over his head. Look at Bobby smiling.
How valuable a
That's
tool
why you
can
need Christ.
hypnosis be in the intelligence field?
None whatsoever. Hasten to say soft spot. This is what I consider a negative word.
Of the hundreds of behavioral projects undertaken by the CIA, Giddingers appears to have been one of the more successful and more conventional. Other experiments were not as conventional. Neurophysicist Dr. Jose Delgado was financed by the Office of Naval Research. In this experiment, the bull is sedated. Electrodes are implanted in its brain. Delgado transmits an electronic impulse to the center of the bull's brain. Delgado has remote control of the animal. Recently released CIA documents refer to the feasibility of remote control of animals, and that special investigations will be conducted toward the application of selected elements of these techniques to man.
To man.
Remote control of animals, and that special investigations will be conducted toward the application
That's
of
that horn.
selected elements of these
With
techniques
eyes.
to man.
With a mouth of a man speaking great things.
Other areas were examined through the 60s and 70s. Brain surgery, psychosurgery, creation of amnesia, parapsychology, manipulation of genes. Even though past and present CIA officials have indicated this kind of work ended in 1963.
Look at that 63. So this is going on since the 43.
Other areas were examined through the 60s and 70s. Brain surgery, psychosurgery, creation of amnesia, parapsychology, manipulation of genes. Even though past and present CIA officials, psychosurgery, creation of amnesia, parapsychology, manipulation of genes. Even though past and present...
See that? See that? That's that horn. That's that horn. After the three was ripped up by the residue, the three horns was ripped up, plucked up from the roots. Then this horn rose up with many eyes of a man and had a mouth speaking great things. That's what that is. That's the technology boom. You see how we're going through it all? Forgive me, I'm a little tired. I'm a little tired, but I'm pressing on because you guys need to wake up. You guys need to wake up. You don't have to take the abuse of the enemy anymore. But you guys feel so ashamed. You feel ashamed and dumbfounded because but that's good. This is the way God breaks you. This is an invitation. This is an invitation. This is an invitation. You can't get mad at the Israelite because we're taking the brunt of all this. And yes, we're mad, but it's not without a cause. And this anger or whatever is the fury of the Most High God. The cup that he's going to pour out to the nations without mixture. All those who want peace, he's gonna give peace. Matter of fact, timestamp. Let's go to a timestamp in the Bible. We're going to Enoch. I don't know what chapter this is, but this is verse 4 and 5, and this is talking about Christ. And this Son of Man, whom thou hast seen it, shall raise up the kings and the mighty from their seats, and the strong from their thrones, and shall loose the reins of the strong, and break the teeth of sinners. And he shall put down the kings from their thrones and kingdoms, because they do not exalt and praise him, nor nor humbly acknowledge when the kingdom was bestowed upon them. See that? See that? They don't want to acknowledge when the kingdom was bestowed upon them. That happened in the Dark Ages. You see? That happened in the Dark Ages. How did that even come about? You want to know how that came about? You want to know how that came about? You want to know how that came about? Genesis 27:39-40. And Isaac, his father, answered and said unto him, Behold, he's talking to Esau, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above, and by the sword shalt thou live, and shall serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off of thy neck. We've seen that with all history. This is how I know the Bible is real. This is why I can't get too mad. But I tell you this, Christ is the one that is about to, just like he destroyed Israel, he's going to destroy anybody that hates him. He is. He's coming back to do that. He's coming back to do that. Let's take a look at it. Enoch chapter 1. Read at verse 4. And the eternal God will tread upon the earth, even on Mount Zion, and appear from his camp, and appear in the strength of his might from the heavens of heavens, and all shall be smitten with fear, and the watchers, which is the fallen angels, shall quake, and the great fear of trembling shall seize them unto the ends of the earth, and the high mountains shall shake, and the high hills shall be made low, and shall melt like wax before the flame, and the earth shall be hollow, rent in sunder, and all that is upon the earth shall perish, for there shall be a judgment upon all men. But with the righteous he shall make peace, and will protect the elect, and mercy shall be upon them, and they shall all belong to God, and they shall be prosperous, and they shall all be blessed, and he will help them all. And light shall appear unto them, and he will make peace with them. And behold, he comes with 10,000 of his holy ones to execute judgment upon all, and to destroy all the ungodly, and to convict all flesh of all the works of their ungodly which they have ungodly committed, and of all the hard things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. All them people that we saw in Inquisition, they knew that there was not of God. Yeah, Esau took the yoke off of them, but still, God is the creator. And if this is how he wanted to do things, well, this is how he wanted to do things. It's heavy, ain't it? Told y'all, this fourth beast is something vicious. And every time y'all want to sit up here and go against the light and go against the crown, and you think the light is the darkness, all that stems from when the kingdom was hijacked, the true kingdom of God. So now, just like Christ said, they'll kill you thinking that they're doing my will. All that stems back from that. All that stems back from that. And timestamp, this stems all the way back from Nimrod, when Nimrod switched everything around. He wanted to be the promised descendant, and he switched everything around. And this is the lost book of Moses, and this is what it is today when it comes to the light. This is what it is today when y'all think the light is the darkness and the darkness is the light. This is what it is. I'm about to read it. The purpose, and this is Nimrod making his school. The purpose thought it seemed noble was clothed with priestcraft through the illustrations and obscurity. The master priests who were being prepared to teach the children brought by their fathers to this supposed school of wisdom had as their guideline the undefiled of the gifts of the Spirit of God in their hearts. You know what I'm saying? When their fathers brought them to this school, they knew of God. That's all they knew of God coming off the boat. You know what I'm saying? So they had God in their hearts undefiled until they was taught in Nimrod's school. It was taught by their parents before entering what the high priesthood of Mordok called among the children of men as being the doors of wisdom. The instructions was clear. Everything that children believed infallible would be a tribute to the powers of evil, so that if one were to see their fathers using the gifts of the Spirit to heal someone in his family, or even to obtain miracles, a mysterious help from the heavens, they would immediately rebuke their father and mother of such proceedings, claiming that they themselves were deceived in the beginning when the ancestors used magic and witchcraft to gain benefits from the spiritual world. And that's what it is. They deem God's stuff to be witchcraft, while the evil stuff to be good. And that's just, that's just what it is. Okay, now, we're almost done. As I was trying to fortify this lesson, I stumbled across Daniel 8, the next chapter over. And we're starting from 18 to 25. And basically it says the same thing. And I'm going to break it down. And it's a beautiful breakdown because God gave it to me and it fits. And now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face towards the ground. But he touched me and set me upright. And he said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the nations. For at that time appointed, the end shall be. He's talking about the end of the world. And now, he's talking about the end of the world. The ram which thou sawest have two horns. Are the kings of Medes in Persia. That's the first beast. That's the golden age. From Adam all the way to after the flood, all the way to past Nimrod, all the way into Nebuchadnezzar. That's the golden age. And we're going to prove it with these scriptures. And the rough goat is the king of Greece. That's the second beast. That's the bear. Because we did the research. That's Esau, Greece. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. The reason why it says the great horn that's between the eyes of the ram is the first king is because when you read Dan of the tribe of Israel, they left Israel and they settled in Greece before the Kittimites. There was the Spartans. That's why that first horn coming out, that goat, which is Greece, is the first king. That's why I said that, the first king, because Sparta was established before Athens in Greece. You know what I'm saying? It was the Israelite there first, and you know that in history. And the book of Maccabees says that. I'm going to read it again. And the rough goat is the king of Greece, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. That's Sparta. The first king. That's Sparta. Now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in its power. Now, we're following the order from the 4 beasts in chapter 8. We're following the order. But where's the leopard at? Where's the leopard? Like, where's the, you know what I'm saying? Where's the Israelite at? The Medes and Persia is the golden age. You know what I'm saying? The lion with the wings. Greece is Esau. God put a timestamp with the first horn. It's the first king, which is Sparta, which is Dan. But where's the leopard at? Why it ain't showing the leopard? I show you. Now, that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it. That 4, remember the leopard had 4 heads. You see? You see? Now, that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it. The leopard had 4 heads. 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation. How do I know that this 4 stood up for it, which is 4 kingdoms? Because we went through it. The 4 lepers, the 4 heads, 4 kingdoms: David, Judah, Levi. Levi, Judah, Benjamin, and Joseph. Those are the 4 heads. And check this out. Now, that being broken, whereas the 4 heads stood up for it. 4 kingdoms: Joseph, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi shall stand up out of the nation. Stand up out of the nation. Stand up out of the nation. What nation? Israel. Because they all them kingdoms that I said left Jerusalem, left Israel. But they took their culture with them. Stood up out of the nation of Israel that was lost, but not in his power. The reason why I say but not in his power, because they're not in the kingdom. They're not in their territory. They're not in their power, but they're stood up for it. They took their culture with them. And then, just like we read from in 7, how the 4th beast came and stamped out all the history, and then the horn came up and we went into the future. Now, the verse right underneath that, it says, and in the latter time. Boom, there it is. We're in the future now. There it is. Just like chapter 7. We're in the future now. And in the latter time of their kingdom, then, oh, wait a second. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressions are come to a full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark secrets shall stand up. Oh, there it is. I forgot. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressions are full, when the transgressions are come to a full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall come up. So Israel, God, the blood of Christ against you. Yeah, we got kicked out of Jerusalem. You know what I'm saying? Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Joseph, they established kingdoms for the nation, took our culture with us. But our transgressions, we never stopped sinning. And then so boom, the dark ages come, and then God do what he do, because we never stopped sinning, but we always had our culture. You know what I'm saying? We never stopped, but we always had our culture. You know what I'm saying? So once our transgression got to the top, then that's when the takeover happened. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressions are come to a full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. That's switching everything around. That's the abominable church. You know what I'm saying? That Nephi talk about, formed by the devil. and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, because Satan is helping him. You know what I'm saying? And he shall destroy wonderfully. We've seen how all this was destroyed, even up to the day, destroying wonderfully. And he shall prosper in practicing, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. We've seen that through the Inquisition all the way up to now. You know what I'm saying? All the way up to now. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own, because the devil, but not by his own power, and shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty holy people of God. This is the and now this is the end times. And let's go to Enoch to prove. Let's go to Enoch to prove what it is. Enoch verse 2. And after that I saw in my vision all the birds of heaven coming to destroy. Like they're destroying the sheep. They're destroying God's people. Coming to destroy. And I saw all the birds of heaven coming. The eagle, the vulture, the kite, and the raven. But the eagle led all the birds, and they began to devour those sheep, and to pluck out their eyes, and to devour their flesh. Why did it say the eagle, the raven, the kite, and then it says, but the eagle led all the birds? Because the eagle is America. You feel me? The eagle is America. That horn that rose up out of Daniel, that took down the three, which is black nobility, when it, you know what I'm saying, and rose up one horn, that one horn is also America rising up out of the chaos of what happened over there on the other side of the pond. Remember, the book of Adam and Eve said a descendant from you will give theirself to the yielding of the beast on the west side of the border. You know what I mean? So that little horn rising up is this satanic system in this country. The deep state, drain the swamp, whatever you want to call it. You know? Like for reals. And we done seen it all tonight. Verse 25. And through his policy also shall he cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. You feel me? And by peace shall destroy many. Everybody selling their soul, getting cars and jewelry and all the best women and all the fantasies they can ever imagine through peace. He is devouring. He is devouring through peace. But it's not the true peace. It's, you know what I'm saying, it's that peace that, you know, you got to keep. You know, it's like you got to have gas in a car to get from point A to point B. It's like that. It's cool while you driving, but in a matter of time, you know you're gonna run out of gas, so you gotta, you know what I mean? It's like just that peace. And through his policy also, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many, and shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. Stand up against the princes of all princes. Israel is the prince of the power. That's what the Bible says. You know, and I love this country. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a racist or a bigot or anything like that. But these people really hate us. And it's not just them either. You know what I'm saying? There's scriptures in here to show that my own people, you know what I mean, does this stuff too. My own people does. My own people. Matter of fact, let me show you something. This guy slipped up, giving up speed as Martin Luther King, slipped up. Look at this guy. Look how this is how Martin Luther King really died.
You guys go over and have the rally. I want to stay in the hotel and work on the Poor People's Campaign. When we got there and Dr. Abernathy walked in and Jesse Jackson walked in and I walked in and others, people started clapping because they thought Martin was behind us. And so Ralph Preacher said to him, this is not our crowd. And he went to the phone and called Dr. King and said, any of the marches that we had in those days, you have an opportunity to bring the family and march with us. And when I finished sharing with them the last hour of Dr. King's life, so hurry. But that gave me the wonderful privilege of spending the last hour on earth. Three preachers in a room, Abernathy, King, and Kyle. And we spent that last hour together in room 306 at the Lorraine Motel. The press is always curious, and writers, what went on? What did you talk about? I said, we just talk preacher talk. What preachers talk about when they get together? Yo, hey, revivals and all that. What you fixing to hear now? About 5:45, we walked on the balcony, and he was talking to people in the courtyard. He stood here and I stood there. Only as I moved away, so we could have a clear shot, the shot rang out. Thank you. Turned around and then back on the balcony. Only as I moved away, so we could have a clear shot, the shot rang out. Only as I moved away, so we could have a clear shot, the shot rang out. Thank you. Turned around and then back on the balcony. Listen.
See that? See that? And I got scriptures all in this Bible to show that. But we're just describing the fourth beast. The lesson is complete. That's it. The next one is to come is Christ, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do that one. I don't know how long it's going. I don't know when I'm going to do that one. It may be tomorrow. It may be a month from now. But Christ's kingdom is coming after all of this. It's coming after all this. So, Christ's life. Yeah. Yeah. Matthew 24, verse 14 through 15. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. I thought the gospel had been already preached or everywhere. The end haven't came yet, but it's talking about the truth. The truth. If you want the truth, if you want Christ to come back, you gotta preach this gospel. This is the straight gate. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, the Roman Catholic Church, and everything that they've done, Esau taking the yoke off, trying to get his birthright back. When ye see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place. Whosoever readeth, let him understand. Now you guys understand, don't you? Christ's life. Christ's life